Hello, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the online trading webinar with myself, Giles Cockton. Good morning. Good to see you folks. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Let's get stuck in. So the fundamental bias is positive. US and China have agreed to lower tariffs for 90 days by 115%. The US is going to cut from 145% tariffs on Chinese goods to 30%. China is going to cut from 125% on US goods down to 10%. This has lifted sentiment strongly, and we can see the equity markets around the world, particularly US equity futures, moving higher. We've seen a big move out of US treasuries, which in this environment is positive. That move up in US 10-year yields being echoed around the world. Just investors saying, we don't want to buy bonds, we want to quickly pile back into equity markets. And you can see the dollar surging higher, impacting all the majors, giving us a euro dollar down bias as we've looked at earlier in the FX section. Now, for the projections and the levels today, just take a look here at the TPO, time price opportunity. And what you can clearly see is we've got this very nice sort of P-shaped structure. We've got this acceptance of higher prices, and you see how prices just continue to move up higher into this level here, just showing that price is balancing. And if this sort of 5,830, 5,810 area holds, you'd expect that to operate as a nice support level. So a pullback into here on the first test, we'll be expecting buyers. So move up to 5,810, we'll be looking for buyers. If we see a breakout long on strength above this high, then we'd expect the market just to keep pushing higher. We've seen a big move. We've got all these single prints here, big support level around this sort of 5,800 level. The last line of support is here from about 5,780 to 5,790. So if we pull back to that area, that's the last level of support. And we basically won't consider shorts unless we see that 5,750 level getting caught and price start going the other way, but would likely see that on some kind of macro fundamental driver. So as it stands, value area high, pull back to that area, it's looking for longs. Clearly a trending day. The upside option is probably not complete. We haven't seen any sort of rejection, strong rejection of this area. We're seeing some price acceptance, and you've got this nice balance building up here. So markets are quite happy to trade, and this is indicative of potential higher prices as we move forward. Looking on the hourly chart, you can see you've got weekly value area high, right, in that very similar region from previous week. You can see here this big surge higher that we've gone through. That if we pull into this area here, that'd be a great area to look for potential longs. On the weekly chart, you can see the point of control is up there around that sort of 5,850 region. Inventory's been positive from as soon as we got the news that the US and China are pausing tariffs for 90 days and pausing the higher tariffs and agreed to lower it for 90 days down to that 115% level. So looking for upside, key areas to look out for. Obviously, we've got sellers here and here. So a break above this sort of high on volume, you'd expect those sellers to bail and more upside. So breaking out and pushing forward, that's one scenario to look for today. Second scenario today, pull back to that area, then looking for longs. Hey Ryan, good to see you, buddy. Positive sentiment day, and we're looking for longs from this value area low on the weekly chart, this 5,830. Or a breakout of these highs and looking to continue higher. So one thing to be aware of today is the market is very volatile. So moves are going to be quite accelerated. So you might want to consider that you move down to micros because of the volatility. It'd be easy to sort of run your position higher than you'd think. So just keep that in mind today with the E-mini futures market. Projections move to here, then probably try and break out and make fresh highs. We have to watch out for Trump speaking at 2:30 and 3:30. That could impact markets. And Trump's got a post-executive order press conference at 2:30 with the market open. So keep your eyes on that. Any pullbacks here, we're looking for buying opportunities. So any moves back down to this region here, this 5820, 5830 region, then watch for potential dip buyers. So particularly that daily VWAP, that will be a good area to look for. And you can see delta positive. Important areas here, you can see here some buyers trying to get trapped up here at this value area. If they get trapped, we may see a pullback, but with inventory so positive and sentiment so positive, we only want to short if we really get a clear opportunity and we clearly see delta pointing lower, building, moving to the downside, particularly maybe on a macro catalyst. Otherwise, watch for dip buying. And any time earlier in the session that we saw sellers here, sellers there, and we saw sellers here trying to trap those buyers, and then price just grinds up and ignores it. And you can see you've got sellers here, here, and here. And yes, the delta's been moving negatively since about 11 o'clock UK time. You know, if you just took that time, it's wanting to push lower. But the delta is positive on the session, so we're looking for dip buying opportunities. Anything around these lows here, the daily VWAP, will be ideal for going long. So that's what we expect on a first test. Hey, Konstantinos, very good morning, good to see you. Konstantinos, we're in a buy bias, positive sentiment regarding the US and China agreeing to lower tariffs for 90 days, and particularly looking at this daily VWAP area, which coincides with this weekly value area low around the 5820, value area high, 5820 region. We've seen price accepting these higher levels, and we expect to test on a first kind of buyers on the first kind of test around this 5817, 5810 region. So expecting buyers from any pullbacks into this area, and we can see we've got that marked quite nicely here. And although you've got delta trying to push lower at the moment, we favor dip buying rather than trying to go with that selling dynamic as it goes. Watch out for your position size today. You may want to just reduce it, or consider using micros, because the position size could get bigger than you want it to be. All right, folks, that is it for now. We've just got to wait now for the open and see what's going on. Have a look here. And you can see here, you got some sellers trapping those buyers, but I wouldn't trust it here because the delta's still pretty flat. And although you got some sellers, just trapping those buyers, I prefer to want to be in the buy. So a pullback to that daily VWAP is what I'm looking for as a first opportunity to go long, and then looking for opportunities to move to the upside. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else grabbing my attention. In case you missed it, that TPO P structure, nice balance up here. There's no sort of clear rejection as higher prices. So this is a market that's saying we want to take things higher. It's indicative of further upside. Any moves down to the 5810, expecting buyers. Any breakout of that 5850, expecting buyers. And I want to stick with longs unless we start moving underneath maybe this 5770, 5780 region, ideally this 5740 region. So it's a buy bias day on that positive sentiment. And just be aware that any pullbacks you'd expect to find buyers. So keep your expectations for that to happen. So price falling, right, but the delta rising, so that's bullish. This is a key buy area down here. All right, still waiting for Trump. I'm not going to buy into this because we don't know what Trump's going to say, but just notice this divergence. Price is moving lower, even as the delta is moving higher, so it's a bullish divergence.
Update on geopolitics. According to Barrett Ravid at Axios, says after a meeting with White House envoy Witkov, Netanyahu is sending Israeli negotiators to Doha to resume talks on a broader hostage and ceasefire deal.
We're now into this key sort of buy area that we identified. We've got point of control now moving down the 5834, and we've got quite a chunk of aggressive sellers down here. All right, so seeing them get trapped would be nice in this buy area. Daily VWAP just sitting underneath prices now. Let's have a look. We've now moved into that support area that we identified earlier on in the session. So we're now in that support area. We'd expect buyers on a first test there. So let's see. I'm going to have one buy here. So I'm going to buy this and see if we get a bit of a turnaround there. Just going to put my stop underneath the VWAP and let's see, because this is the area that I identified for buying, and I am expecting a buy on the first test of this green area. Let's see. This is that value area high, so it's just expecting buyers on the first test there. Let's see if we get them. The 15th, you got those sellers who got trapped here by buyers, so a retracement to that level. I'm expecting that to hold as a support, at least for a little bounce. I've got Delta starting to push lower now. Just gonna keep an eye on that. We've got buyers here against the point of control. Delta coming in strongly negative, testing these dip buyers now. Right, testing and trapping those dip buyers. So with those just trapped there, I want to look at tightening their stop up. Just tightening up a little bit more in case we get a flush lower here. Still like the overall bullish narrative, but I can see that these sellers just trap those buyers there. So got support with the daily VWAP, just going to reduce the risk a little bit.
And as we're waiting, Trump to give remarks at the post-executive order press conference with HHS Secretary RFK Jr. Remember, this was the executive order on lowering pharmaceutical prices. In terms of what might be indicative of Trump's remarks, he has got a presentation titled at the conference, Biden's Bad Drug Price Deal.
Biden's Bad Drug Case Deal. Good old Donald, always fighting. All right.
Update from the China Foreign Ministry does note that Wang Yi met with the Guyana counterpart in Beijing.
That's it. That's the narrative, isn't it? Oh boy. It's certainly not a dull moment with US President Trump. A rejection of that point of control. We've got the daily VWAP. Delta pointing lower, but we're in a buy zone, a key buy area. So let's see. Delta's sort of been building lower from the start of the session. Now, so this is a crucial area here, this VWAP. So we've dropped down to that VWAP area. This is the area I'm expecting buyers to defend on a first test. Move down, we've got this buy zone. Sellers have got the upper hand though for now. The buyers have tried to come back a couple of times, haven't managed it, and it's still sort of just sat around that VWAP area. So sellers building though, look at that. We've had one point of rejection from the point of control. The point of control's moved down now. Point of control and VWAP are literally at the same place at 5826. We have got some sellers here. Sellers lining up to get trapped, but we shall see. Sellers all in a low, in a row. They haven't been able to take price lower though. So at some point you're going to say, well, hang on, you know, you're not able to take the price lower. Buyers trying to come in now. Key little battle. Yeah, okay. So yes, they've got some sellers trapped there. Right, buyers will make a defense of this now. You can see the delta trying to come in, trying to flush out some of these sellers. This will be the battle area. And you have got buyers just trapping those sellers there. But we need to see the point of control hold. So those buyers weren't able to take it any higher for now. And sellers taking confidence from that.
Following the US cash open, US indices do open well in the green. S&P 500 up 2.5%, Nasdaq 100 up 3%, Russell 2000 outperforming up 4%, Dow Jones up about 2.6%. Of course, the main story has been that announcement from the US and China agreeing to a 90-day reduction in reciprocal tariffs by 115%, leaving the US tariff on Chinese goods at 30% and China's tariffs on US goods at 10% for 90 days. Meanwhile, those US fentanyl tariffs are to remain at 20%. In terms of sectors, they do open mostly in the green, led by consumer discretionary, energy and technology, while consumer staples do lag amid the risk on trade. In terms of healthcare names, US President Trump did pledge to slash US drug prices by 30 to 8%, which is adding pressure to some of those names, and he is to give an announcement, post-announcement very soon. In FX, the dollar is broadly firmer, with havens the worst G10 performers amid the significant risk on trade in US assets. Meanwhile, treasuries are sold across the curve. T-notes now in a better faring US economy, with the federal funds rate to be higher for longer amid the US-China announcement. As it stands, July 25 basis point rate cut likelihood, that's 40% down from the 68% we saw on Friday, pushing the first full 25 basis point rate cut to September. It's now at 26 basis points, down from Friday's 35. And by year end, we see 55 basis points of easing in the money market pricing. In terms of crude prices, they are supported by the risk on theme, up over around $1.90 per barrel on the day. And on geopolitics, the update came via Ukraine and European leaders agreeing to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire starting on May the 12th, while they said if Russia fails to comply, they will respond with massive sanctions and increased military aid.
This is the kind of the last sort of line support area, waiting on Donald. Let's have a look on the 5. Sellers just been building there. There's a lack of conviction on the follow through. Buyers now trying to come in, hitting that point of control, just see if they can get those breakout sellers trapped. That would be good for the bulls. Point of control has held. Here we go. So here's another attempt at turning this around. Delta rising, but they're finding sellers. Let's see.
Just making you aware with regards to this Trump and RFK Jr. press conference post-executive order, there is another presentation being lined out called Golden Dome for America.
Golden what for America? Golden Day or something? Buyers able to get back to the point of control and able to hold there. They haven't all just run away. If we see price moving underneath those buyers, then you might see a little bit of flush lower here. So see, this is a crucial moment here. Can those sellers take out those buyers? Let's see. That's looking good for sellers. So I'm out of that because you can see sellers, right? They're trying to take out these buyers here. See them coming in as well. Let's see if they can manage it. If the sellers can't and they go back above those, I think I'll just wait for Trump now. So let's see. Yeah, okay. Jumping back into longs just to see if we can get something here. So that's nice. Take a couple of longs. That's a nice one there. Do you see how those sellers got trapped there? So those sellers got trapped by these buyers. So that's a nice opportunity. Just entered a couple of longs just to see if this can start to whiz up higher now. And you got those sellers there. You see they could get trapped. Let's see what we get there. It's worth giving it a shot anyway. What I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to put a personal room meeting in case this one doesn't open when I come back. So I'm just going to zip to the interview now. Just use a normal one, but in case we need it, I've put a Zoom meeting in the Discord. So in case we need it, I put it there. So
it says that the EU is nastier than China.
Ooh, fighting talk against.
Will come down a lot.
Right, see buyers now, have they trapped? Look, buyers trapping these sellers here, so there's good opportunity for more upside here if these sellers end up getting trapped too, which I think they are doing. All right, so I'm just going to take, I've got this interview pane. There we go, more Delta coming in. All right, take 50% off and leave the other 50% just to go for the break even when I go to the interview. All right, let's see what happens later. All right, folks.
And just be aware, we're also seeing some comments from China. The Commerce Minister says that China and US trade talks created conditions for further bridging differences and deepening cooperation.
All right, folks, I'll see you in a bit. Just going to nip to the interview and I'll open this room. If any problems, go back into the Discord and we'll open that room. See you in a bit, folks. Bye for now.
Folks, very quickly, just a heads up, in around 10 minutes' time, we are going to be hearing from Fed voter Kugler.
All right then, folks, just going to run through the day. So the session started with positive Delta, positive inventory, positive sentiment. Trade deal partially done in the sense that US and China agreed to pause tariffs for 90 days. Big push up in sentiment. So I was looking to buy from the markets open. Price moved down as Trump was speaking, as the market opened, and we saw here these sellers got trapped. I was looking for them just to have a reaction off this buy green zone. So the first trade I took was that long off that green zone. And then as price kept moving lower and lower, I thought, okay, that's it, got to call it a day at some point. And so I exited the trade. Still wanted to go long. So as price moved back above the point of control, as we saw some sellers, particularly these sellers here, get trapped, went long again. And even though Delta was moving lower, took some longs, and then looking to see if we could get a little bit run higher, just took price off as we moved up towards the daily VWAP. Then had another opportunity to go long. I like this here on the 5 minute. It was a little long I took, where I could just see on the 5 minute, You had buyers trap those sellers. This was the area. Now, Delta was positive on the day, even though it was pointing lower. I wanted to go long. And so when I saw on the 1 minute chart, these buyers trapping those sellers and this pullback here, I thought, okay, let's try a long from there, taking a loss on that and getting out as it moved back underneath that standard deviation. Then looking for the last place to kind of go long, which is this 800, 790 region, just before we get into those single prints and at the bottom of that sort of structure on the TPO. So very happy to buy in from there, you know, great area. So as price moved down, I was looking for opportunities and saw it when we had buyers trap those sellers here. Buyers, trapped sellers, a couple of positions long, just held on, sellers got trapped again, sellers got trapped again, and held up into the point of control, took profit. Then had another long, which was based on these buyers, right? These buyers here trapping those sellers. So a pullback to the point of control, right? Made sense with them, you know, these sellers here getting trapped, pull back to the point of control, went long, just took profit off as we hit the daily VWAP, and then closed the final session with a short, because even though price was moving up, as Najam and I were saying, the delta was moving down. So that's bearish, right? That's a bearish divergence. Price up, delta down, right? So that means sellers wanted to come back in here. So the first opportunity I saw that they had to come in selling was here, with those sellers trap these buyers, and so took a short only down to the point of control. And now you can see buyers, oh, even buyers there, look, buyers here, here, and going to try and trap some sellers here and here. So that's it. There were the trades for today. Take care, folks, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.